Welcome to the Ecom Unlock, a curated expert series where leading voices in e-commerce, compliance, logistics, and commerce technology unpack what's really driving international growth. Today, we're unpacking the piece of infrastructure sitting behind the wall, the merchant of record. I'm joined by Seán Griffin, head of global sales at ExpandNow, who spent years inside global e-commerce at companies like Digital River and Issuewalk. Seán, welcome. Great to have you here.
Thanks, Danny. Great to be here. Appreciate the intro. I'm glad we got the wardrobe synchronized.
True.
It's very important for a podcast.
Exactly. So, Seán, let me ask you this. TikTok Shop has gone from a curiosity to a serious sales channel incredibly fast. Brands are now selling directly inside the app, in market, and all over the world. What's driving that shift? And why does selling this way suddenly make who is the legal seller a question brands never used to have to answer?
Yeah, I suppose there's two parts to that answer. One is TikTok is no longer this trendy project inside a brand's business, a nice to have sales channel. Brands are seeing that TikTok gives repeatable business, and TikTok has its value through the success stories in the USA and the UK, which are the more developed sales channels for TikTok. And so TikTok has proven itself as a standalone marketplace, as an evolved way of selling that adds value to a multitude of brands. They are taking the channel more seriously and have higher intent now to go there if they have been blocked beforehand. And that's the other thing, is that brands who don't realize they need to be domiciled in the TikTok shop country they're trying to sell in. And what I mean by domicile, they need to have an actual legal entity. And this is unlike other marketplaces like Amazon and other big marketplaces, where they just need the brand to have a local VAT number and a mechanism to import goods. TikTok go further, and it's to do with risk and authenticity. And they mandate that brands need to have a local company with a local VAT number, a myriad of other things to actually sell in this channel. And that is the opposite of how brands have scaled internationally for the last 10, 15 years. Their current selling model or their current compliance layer does not accommodate this type of framework very easily, because brands like to stay nimble. They like one company to serve as many global markets as possible. And that is just impossible with TikTok Shop, because they favor local supply chain, local ownership.
It's definitely a game changer and a different animal in the way that they present themselves in the sales channel, for sure. So let's make this concrete for anyone hearing the term for the first time. In plain language, what is a merchant of record, and why it has become a central piece for TikTok Shop?
So what is a merchant of record? To me, to you, to anyone who buys merchant of record, can be different. Merchant of record overcomes challenges, the same challenges all the time, which is a brand that cannot reach a market, a brand that cannot sell inside a sales channel. Therefore, they need local presence or a compliance mechanism in order to sell to that target market or sell to within that target sales channel. So really what merchant of record really is a sales enabler. With merchant of record, I can sell somewhere, keep control of commerce, sell somewhere that I couldn't yesterday, because I don't have the necessary company, the necessary VAT numbers, the necessary payments capability, invoicing capability. There's a myriad of reasons why merchant of record is more valuable to some brands over other brands, and that has everything to do with their intended use of merchant of record. And I could give you an example of that. Merchant of record, it existed originally to help brands who don't sell direct to consumer sell direct to consumer. So brands who typically sell in reseller or retail channels, like in the consumer electrics industry, like even in the food industry, typical brands that don't sell directly to shoppers, they don't have their own stores. They sell in other people's stores, but they want to have an online presence. Merchant of record enabled them to sell directly to consumers, because their preferred mechanism is to sell to businesses. And essentially, that's what they do with the merchant of record. They sell initially to a business who then sells direct to consumer. And there are so many value adds in that approach, which avoids the actual brand hiring people, integrating technologies, standing up daily operations in order to be compliant, ultimately to sell in that target market or target sales channel.
Okay, so enabler, facilitator, eliminating a lot of the hassle of having to do it yourself. So if a brand accepts it needs a merchant of record to sell on TikTok Shop and quickly finds that they are not all the same, what separates a merchant of record that helps a brand scale from one that quietly holds it back? And what should brands actually be looking for when they choose?
Yeah, the case of TikTok Shop and the need for merchant of record, it's quite straightforward. Um, as a brand, I cannot open a shop in my target TikTok market. I don't have the company, the VAT number, the bank account, the local ownership, and therefore, very simply, I need a merchant of record. I need to contract with a company who is local, who can resell my product on my behalf. Very simply, and there is a lot of options to do this, right? But very simply, the things that I would look out for is the merchant of record doing their job? So the merchant of record assumes selling liability. How good is the merchant of record at collecting funds, paying VAT? Although you're not responsible as a brand, you're not responsible for paying VAT, but you want to ensure that your merchant of record is operating, fulfilling the obligations that they need to fulfill, which is receiving money, paying taxes, and then reconciling the monies and ultimately paying your brand. So how good is your merchant of record at doing that? Ways in which you can find that out is understanding who they're working for. Are they working across multiple channels? Is this thing just for TikTok? Is this just an opportunist thing that this vendor has proposed in their, or is this just an opportunist service that this vendor is proposing to the market without really understanding what the responsibilities are? So looking behind the surface of a sales proposition or a piece of content on a website to understand who is behind it. Do they know what they're doing? And then operationally, how does it function? Is it people behind desks moving money from one bank account to the other? Is it people creating reports, or is there a platform underpinning all of the responsibilities, the services, the reporting, the movement of money? And that's a very good way of understanding, am I in safe hands? Are they repeatedly going to fulfill their obligations and the services that they have promised in our contract? The consequences of this is obviously if a merchant of record isn't functioning and operating as it should, that's going to run out of runway because they're not fulfilling obligations, and it's a VAT obligation, so the government will shut them down and they can get fined. They can quickly go out of business, which would leave you stranded because ultimately they are the owner of your shop. And so you don't want to be stranded. So it's definitely worthwhile from a risk perspective to do the background checks to ensure that your merchant of record is functioning healthily.
Okay, totally understood the importance of what's behind and what's the context around. So if we get more specific about the barrier, to open and run a TikTok shop in one new market, what does TikTok really actually require? A local entity, local residency, VAT registration, local bank account, the trademark registration. How long does building all that in-house really would take?
Yeah, you've hit all of the above as the necessities to get in place. There are a couple of more, but to actually open a shop, and they are the ones to activate and open a shop. They're the ones that are a hard requirement and will fulfill. If you have those things, they will fulfill your ability to open a shop. Um, if a brand doesn't have any of those things, really what they would need to do is establish an entity. That's number one. Establish an entity varies in terms of timeline and cost, depending on the market in which you're trying to open that entity in. Some markets require that you need to have actual boots on the ground, people who are employed by your company to either just register the company or register the company and get a VAT number. And so really it very much varies, but from a starting position, every brand, especially the bigger brands, will have governance. It will have a way of working which has to then be broken. An additional company means additional responsibility, additional research, additional advice, additional legal framework, and therefore that's usually the long pole in the tent, the big increase in length of time to actually get the requirements in place, getting the advice, getting your organization comfortable with opening a new company, and then getting all of the other things is also a challenge. I mean, if you need a local director with local ownership, again, it varies a little bit depending on the target TikTok market. Um, you will potentially have to hire a full-time member of staff that's director level who can actually open a bank account and has, access to a bank account. So that has inherent risk, but it also has upfront cost limitations. So you pay for all this advice, all of this action,
Yeah.
all upfront. And obviously the length of time it takes to get all these things in place. And what happens with most brands is that they start with one thing, they don't start with two things at the same time, and that increases timeline. And I suppose the very effective alternate to all of that is obviously merchant record, which completely turns that on its head. And that's probably your next question, Danny. I'm sorry, but that turns that on its head and says, look, you don't have to wait to get on board. You can immediately go, but then you can also benefit from not only the speed in which we can get you operating, which is money on the table. The second thing is we don't charge you any upfront fees. And so you can go enter into TikTok and pay a success share fee as you generate income. And so your costs are associated with your earnings rather than you investing potentially up to 100 and whatever thousand in advice, in people, in additional operations, additional technologies, to manage the new sales channel. So it really is from a speed, a risk, a simplicity perspective, the better option.
Risk is key, because at the end, for what I see, merchant of record minimizes all that risks for the brand. While if you do it on your own, even if you hire someone that has the local residency and has all the requirements by TikTok, which will take months and months and months, still the risk is on the company, but you put the responsibility on someone that you just hired. So it's a very highly risk situation for the brands, for sure. So we have brands that assume TikTok shop is basically plug and play, that okay, we got these followers, we'll just switch it into the next country. What are the biggest misconceptions about going international on TikTok shop, and where do brands most often get caught out?
I think it's kind of universally brands get caught out on the same things when entering the TikTok for the first time. And that is that they are going to just assume organic sales in droves and grow their brand on TikTok Shop that way. And that is a big misconception or a big value loss because um, TikTok requires activating new influencers, existing influencers. It requires an affiliate strategy or an influencer strategy to be successful from what we see and what is generally spoken about as a marketing lever inside the channel. Not a marketing expert, but I can relay that without an affiliate strategy, you're not going to get as much success out of TikTok as what's on the table. When you see other brands who are successful on other TikTok shop countries and then try go internationally, the biggest misconception is that their home country influencers are going to influence the shop. TikTok is very localized. Local influencers are a key lever. And so when adding new countries, you also have to iterate your influencer strategy.
Definitely driven by the desire that those influencers can create with the content that they build. Definitely. So a brand is live and the shop is up. And that's really when the work starts, actually trading the channel. What makes a TikTok shop perform? And getting the content right, building the creator, affiliate marketing that works, as you mentioned, and knowing whether it's generally making money on TikTok and off TikTok.
Yeah. And this is the biggest KPI is how is TikTok going to justify its function inside my brand so that I repeatedly uh, take action inside that sales channel? The first part of your question in what do I need to do to get this right? We would always encourage, at the very least, an influencer, an affiliate manager solution like Reacher or Cruva, and that's going to optimize your affiliate management operations and activate as many affiliates as possible and segment affiliates to suit your brand and your affiliate strategy. Beyond that, a TikTok agency is recommended. So getting people inside the shop who understand what's going on because it's nuanced. There's setting inside that shop which can make you very successful if they're turned on and bury your shop if they're turned off. So knowing those hints and tricks is that an agency is worth its weight in gold. And then the other thing is figuring out what function TikTok Shop has inside your overarching go-to-market strategy. So your omni-channel go-to-market strategy. We have brands who make losses on TikTok that continue to push as much resource inside TikTok as possible. And when you ask that brand, they are absolutely delighted losing money because their products are replenished within a few weeks of the first purchase. So they're making losses in the first purchase, but they have already proved that the shopper is repeating sales either on TikTok itself and they're using organic methods to purchase again, or the shopper themselves are going into their local supermarket and purchasing the same product through a reseller or retailer, and they are making profit on the second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth sale. And we have brands who are profitable in isolation in that channel as well. And so what we do at ExpandNow, we provide the reporting so that you can see very quickly what function TikTok Shop has or what value TikTok Shop has after all deductions, all activities. Am I making profit elsewhere to justify continuing selling on TikTok and investing in TikTok?
That's a game changer. You got the data and you can make the decisions in the right way. Otherwise, you are selling totally blind. So it's a great thing that that can be brought to the brands. So merchant of record for the last decade, it's a model that was built for one job. As you said early on, helping a brand sell into markets from a single home base. But marketplaces and channels like TikTok Shop are now forcing brands to build real local selling capabilities in each market. And to do it across several channels at once has a complication. How does that break the old model? And what does a merchant of record really have to become to keep up?
Brands have a will to be omni-channel. They want to be in multiple channels. They don't want to just be in multiple channels inside their domestic country, the country in which they're HQ. Therefore, they need to have a compliance layer. They either need to have companies or multiple VAT numbers in order to be compatible with marketplaces. Brands, we know that takes quite an amount of time depending on what requirements are needed for the target marketplace or the target countries. And as a merchant of record to evolve in 2026, we have to keep up with the demand that marketplaces have in international markets. So outside of the brand's domestic country, where they're already compatible with all these marketplaces and the direct to consumer channels. And so you need to have an omni-channel capability, and ExpandNow, we have a multi-channel capability and evolving to an omni-channel capability that covers the majority of meaningful marketplaces to quickly enable brands on the target marketplaces and direct to consumer and B2B channels everywhere where a brand wants to exist and do commerce in an international market. A merchant of record really has to be targeting, covering that at scale.
Okay, so that comes with the next question. So it reinforces what you just said. I was going to ask you, once this brand is live and compliant in the shop in one market through a merchant of record, could be ExpandNow, what does the unlock everywhere else? And this is exactly what I think you mentioned before that you build in ExpandNow. So walk us a little bit as a summary through it and how it works. I sign the contract. I start with the UK, but I want to open new markets in Europe, US. How does it work?
Yeah, I think if I give the specific example of TikTok Shop, we have a lot of brands approaching us to open a TikTok Shop. What we give them is a platform which is compatible with multiple TikTok shops. We give them both a technology that is able to consume data from TikTok shops and enable the ongoing requirements or the ongoing operations to operate a TikTok shop, but also we give the mechanism to open multiple TikTok shops. So we start with a brand in Europe. If they don't have presence in the USA, we like brands to apply their strategy and hone their strategy in one market first before then moving them to the USA or to Britain. And the way that's done is very, very simple. They've already signed a contract which enables us to open an additional shop for them in that target market. That process takes around a week, whereas a brand doing that themselves, where they have already proven that they are capable of being successful inside a TikTok shop, the logical next step for them is to understand, or how can I get more depth in TikTok? Therefore, I want to go into other TikTok shop regions or markets. And it's a very simple process once you've initially signed our contract.
So just a week or so versus 6 months, 12 months if you do it on your own. It's a big difference. It's a big difference.
Yeah, exactly. And with that, you start with data and a capability already inside your business or already within your own ecosystem that knows what they're doing when you go into the second market.
So a final one for you, Seán. For a brand sitting down right now to plan their TikTok shop expansion into new markets, what's the single most important piece of advice you would give them about getting the merchant of record decision right from the start?
Well, I think a lot of brands, they always want to try it themselves. And I think TikTok doesn't explicitly spell out in some cases or make it very, very clear the entry requirements. And so I would encourage every brand who is sitting down and wanting to scale their existing selling capabilities on TikTok Shop with new countries, or who's entering into TikTok Shop for the very first time and is incompatible, or is getting rejections in the application process, to just find a merchant of record and speak to them. They understand what it takes to establish a company, to get a VAT number, to have the necessary capabilities inside their business to open shops. So they're going to tell you all about the timeline. They're going to tell you about the costs, and they're going to draw a comparison of two models: one, do it yourself and the upfront cost and timeline, and then two, the optimal path through merchant of record, which cuts down a lot of time, and links cost to success or revenue rather than a fixed cost bill. So that would be my biggest takeaway for anyone listening, is to go speak to a merchant of record to figure out what's the best strategy for your business.
Sounds about right. Thanks so much, Seán. It's been a pleasure having you here at Ecom Unlock. Thanks for coming.
Thank you, Danny. Thanks for your time. Appreciate the chat.